Good afternoon, all of you. So today we will discuss the last portion of third module, that is Miller's theorem. Okay, it's very simple. The intention of this Miller's theorem is in order to find the cutoff frequency of an amplifier. We have already studied one method, that is nothing but the open circuit time constant method, but that is a little bit complicated, right? That means more mathematical steps are required in order to compute the cutoff frequency by using open circuit time constant. So we have a simple equation for Miller theorem. By some approximations, we will come up with an equation, and by using that particular equation, we will compute the cutoff frequency in much more prominent way. So I hope you got the objective of studying this particular topic, right? We are going to compute the high frequency cutoff for a CS amplifier by using this particular theorem. So what we are doing here is we have a bridging capacitance. Bridging capacitance means one which is coming across the two terminals, say example gate and drain. Okay, suppose this is a gate and this is a drain of a particular circuit. So between those terminals, if you have a capacitance, then that is called as a bridging capacitance. So whenever the bridging capacitance is coming in between the two terminals, means we will not be able to find a physical resistance connected across that particular open circuit. So we can't find the cutoff frequency in a simple way, right? Because we have to apply KVL, KCL, that is by connecting a dummy voltage source, we need to go for circuit analysis in order to find the equivalent resistance across such bridging capacitor. So that is a tedious process. So in order to eliminate or in order to in order to solve such kind of problems, Miller has come up with a solution, that is whenever we are having any bridging capacitance between the gate and drain terminal, it can be converted into some other equivalent circuit comprising of two different capacitances. Okay. For example, I have an impedance Z connected between 1 and 2. This can be considered as a bridging capacitance, right? Because it is in the bridge between the two terminals 1 and 2, where V1 is a voltage to the input port and V2 is the output voltage of the port number 2, where I is the input current, and similarly the I will be the output current. So there is no change for the input and output current. It will be same as far as the two-port network is considered. And V2 is nothing but the amplified version of V1, where K is the gain. So by using this particular diagram, we will try to uh, understand what is Miller theorem, or how you can redraw this particular circuit into a Miller equivalent. Clear? So again, I am telling, if at all, if you find any bridging capacitance between two terminal, it will be very difficult to find the equivalent resistance across that particular capacitance. Thereby, we can't find the cutoff frequency FH in a very fast way. So to overcome that particular problem, what we are doing is we will make use of Miller's theorem, and we will convert the given circuit into a Miller equivalent circuit, so that it will be that it can be analyzed in a better way, in a fast way, as we'll be discussing today. Okay, so now you can take down these two figures, figure A and its equivalent circuit. Okay, so how we are going to redraw the circuit is, we are splitting this impedance Z into two distinct values Z1 and Z2, which are connected in the parallel arm. Okay, rather than connecting it in the bridging arm, I'm connecting the two impedances in parallel or shunt arm so that it will be easier for the analysis. So that is what is the Miller theorem is concerned. Okay, so Z is being splitted into Z1 and Z2 such that Z1 is defined by Z divided by 1 minus K and Z2 is defined by Z divided by 1 minus K, where K is the gain or amplification factor. Understood? So this is a Miller equivalent circuit and we need to go for these two equations, or how we have got this equation that we need to analyze it from this particular circuit. So this is a Miller equivalent where you have changed this Z into Z1 and Z2 so that the bridge capacitance have been avoided, so that it will be very easy for analysis in order to find the equivalent resistance as well as the cutoff frequency and time constants. Understood, students, the benefit of using Miller's theorem? Can I proceed? Now you take down these two equations and we need to go for this proof. How we have obtained the value of Z1 and Z2 in terms of Z and K. What is K? K is the gain or amplification factor, which is given for a particular CS amplifier. That is, output voltage is given by the gain into input voltage V1. So how to derive these two equations? First, we will try to derive this equation. So for that, let me name these two figures as figure A and figure B. First, we will see what is figure A, and according to figure A, I will write the equation for capital I. Current I is flowing through this impedance, which can be written as the potential difference divided by resistance. Now tell me the equation for I as per this figure A. Yes, equation for current I according to this figure A. A simple circuit, isn't it? What is the equation for current? Potential difference divided by resistance. Yes, now you can tell me the equation for I. Santosh?
Sir, V1 by Z, sir.
Then what about V2? The same current I is coming towards 2 also, right? That is, we have the potential difference across Z, which is equal to V1 minus V2. At one end, we are having V1, the other end, we are having V2, isn't it? So potential difference is
V1 minus V2 divided by Z, sir.
Very good. So I is equal to V1 minus V2 divided by Z, where V2 is K times of V1, because it is an amplified version of your input voltage. So V2 is K times of V1. This can be considered as equation number 1. Okay. You can take V1 outside. So V1 multiplied by 1 minus K by Z, put it as equation number 2. So now you got an equation for I based on figure A. Parallelly, you can write, I need to finish this portion. So write parallelly. It is very simple. Okay. Now coming to figure B. Coming to figure B, what will be the equation for I? Now you can't treat this as a single circuit because already you have splitted this into input and output circuit by placing an open circuit across the terminals 1 and 2, right? So if you observe this figure B, what will be the equation for I? This is your I. Now you can't take V2. As you said before, I is V1 by Z1. Clear? Is that clear? In figure B, V2 is coming in the second port, right? That is in the output port, which is different from the input side. So there we can't take V2 along with V1 for finding I. So we are applying just Ohm's law in the input circuit alone so that we can finalize the equation for I, which is equal to V1 by Z1. So the LHS of these two equations are same. Now equate the right hand sides and solve for Z1. You can cancel V1 from both the sides and solve for Z1 in terms of Z and finalize the equation. Clear? Now coming to next case, that is in order to derive the equation for Z2. So to derive the equation for Z2, again we will go for figure A and write the equation for I. Same equation, I is equal to V1 minus V2 by Z. Once you finish with Z1, now we are going to derive for Z2. Okay, so for that, again I should go for figure A and write the equation for I. Similarly, from figure B, that is especially from the output loop, now you will write the equation for I. You know that this is a common source amplifier, so output will be the inverted mode of input. So always the current can be written as 0 minus V2 by Z2. Okay, this is your ground voltage, this is ground, so 0, current is moving in this way. So 0 minus V2 divided by Z2, that will be your output current. 0. Because V2 is negative. V2 is negative of V1. That is why high voltage will be ground and lower voltage will be V2. Clear, students? So current is potential difference 0 minus V2 divided by Z2. That is what is the output current I for this figure B, which is equal to minus kV1. What is V2? V2 is K times of V1. So we can rewrite this equation minus kV1 by Z2. Are you following me? Suchit?
Yes, sir.
Now you can equate the left hand side because left hand side is I, so you can equate the right hand side. So equation 4 is equal to 5. So kindly equate the right hand side of the equations. And here you can substitute V2 as kV1. Substitute V2 as kV1. Now take V1 outside and cancel from both the sides. So that the equation becomes 1 minus k by z is equal to minus k by z2. Any doubts means you can ask me, please. Now you can rearrange this, cross multiply it and find the equation for Z2. So Z2 will become minus kz divided by 1 minus k. Here I'm taking k outside from the numerator and denominator. So if I take k outside and cancel, the denominator will become 1 by k minus 1. Clear, students? I'm taking k outside from the denominator and I'm cancelling with the numerator. So it will become minus z divided by 1 by k minus 1. And if I want to make this numerator positive, your denominator will become 1 minus 1 by k instead of 1 by k minus 1. So this is the equation for Z2. So as per the Miller equivalent circuit, now you have replaced your bridge capacitance Z into the two distinct capacitance Z1 and Z2, whose values are Z divided by 1 minus k and Z divided by 1 minus 1 by k respectively. So these two outcomes we are going to apply in our conventional high frequency equivalent circuit, and we will get a new equivalent circuit which is called as Miller equivalent circuit, and from there we are going to calculate the time constant and cutoff frequency in a very simple way. So I repeat why I'm going for this particular method, because if you have a number of capacitance in your high frequency equivalent circuit, then you should be, you should take all the capacitance one by one, and you need to calculate the equivalent resistance. Accordingly, you will have the tau h equation, right? That will be very complicated because all the sum of the time constants you need to add together in order to get the cutoff frequency. So that is a tedious process. So in order to overcome that particular problem, we are replacing this bridge capacitance CGD into two subcapacitances Z1 and Z2, and accordingly we will find the time constant. So now you can draw this high frequency equivalent circuit of a conventional common source amplifier. This is already familiar to you. Now this we are going to modify by using the Miller circuit. Now, based upon this equivalent circuit, identify the bridging capacitance which is creating much problems for us. Which is a bridging capacitance here? Which is a bridging capacitance. Bridging means connecting the two terminals as a bridge. Which is a bridging capacitance, students? Which is the bridging capacitance?
CGD.
CGD. Good. So we are going to replace the CGD into Z1 and Z2. For this, I should write our results, whatever we got earlier. So kindly write down those results. Z1 is equal to Z by 1 minus K, and Z2 is equal to Z divided by 1 minus 1 by K. So first, let us define what is Z. Z is the impedance corresponding to our capacitance. Right? What is the impedance of a capacitor? It is 1 by CS. You might have studied in the network theory, right? Z is equal to 1 by CS. If it is inductor, it is LS, isn't it? So in S domain, we can write the impedance of a capacitance as 1 by CS. Here it is 1 by CGDS. So that is what is our Z. And also we need to define one more parameter, that is gain. Gain is nothing but the amplification factor, that is K, of our conventional CS amplifier. Already we have derived this previously, that is K is minus GM into RL dash, where RL dash is R0 parallel RL. If we are not using RL, then the gain will be minus GM into R0. If you are connecting RL, then the overall load resistance will be R0 parallel RL. Accordingly, our gain will be minus GM into RL dash, where negative sign indicates that CS is a inverting amplifier. So this is the gain of the amplifier, which I have taken from our previous analysis. So this is the impedance of the bridging capacitance, and this is the gain of the amplifier. Now substitute these two parameters in this equation for Z1. We'll take Z2 later. First, you analyze only Z1 and find its value. Simplify it and find its value. So Z1 is equal to, Z is 1 by CGDS divided by 1 minus GM RL dash. So it will become 1 plus GM RL dash. So division is nothing but into reciprocal. So if you rearrange, it will become 1 by CGDS into 1 plus GM RL dash. Now, if you take the left hand side, what is left hand side? Z1. Again, this is a new capacitance, right? Because we are replacing CGD with a new capacitance. So let me take it as CGD dash. So the capacitance corresponding to the new value CGD dash can be, sorry, the impedance corresponding to the new capacitance CGD dash can be written as 1 by CGD dash into S. Is this clear for you? Z1 is a new impedance after applying our Miller theorem, right? And this is in connection with what? Which capacitance? It is in connection with the CGD. So the new capacitance can be considered as CGD dash. So the new impedance will be 1 by CGD dash into S. So this equation can be now rewritten as 1 by CGD dash into S is equal to 1 by CGDS into 1 plus GM RL dash. And from both the sides, you can cancel S and you can take the reciprocal. And finally, the new capacitance will be written as CGD into 1 plus GM into RL dash. So this is the new value of the capacitance after applying Miller theorem, referring to the Z1 alone. Now we need to go with Z2. This explanation is clear for you, Nivedita?
Yes, sir.
Now going for Z2, the equation for Z2 is Z divided by 1 minus 1 by K. Again, Z is equal to 1 by CGDS divided by 1 minus 1 minus 1 by minus GMRL dash, right? So this minus and this minus will become plus. So 1 by CGDS divided by 1 plus 1 by GMRL dash. Now take LCM. Take LCM in this denominator. LCM is GMRL dash. That is a common denominator that will come to the numerator. Divided by this term CGDS into, after cross multiplication, here you will get 1 plus GMRL dash. Okay. Now what is Z2? Z2 is the new value of capacitance corresponding to Z. So second value, right? So I will put double dash. So 1 by CGD double dash S is equal to this value. So you can cancel S from both the sides and take the reciprocal. You will get the new value of capacitance CGD double dash is equal to. So the effect of CGD I have contributed into two cases. One is CGD dash and another one is CGD double dash. Because originally, if you take CGD as a bridging capacitance, I don't want to place CGD over there because my analysis will become more tedious for complicated circuits. So what I have done is I have splitted this effect into two, that is CGD dash and CGD double dash, which I have derived as of now. Now, if you see this result, 1 plus GMRL dash by GMRL dash will be closer to unity, right? For example, 101 by 100. Isn't it? Like that. So this effect can be neglected. I can neglect this particular effect. So the contribution towards CGD double dash is very much small when compared to CGD. Here you can see we'll have a high value, right? CGD multiplied by 1 plus GM into RL dash. Here it is CGD into 1 plus GM RL dash. Again, we are dividing with GM RL dash. So again, that effect will be negligibly small. So we are neglecting this capacitance for our convenience, because this ratio will be approximately unity. just like 101 by 100. So that is not showing much high value. Therefore, I will neglect this and I will retain only with what? CGD. I mean CGD dash. Okay. So with these results, now I'm going to redraw this circuit as shown here. So above circuit can be redrawn as by applying our Miller equivalent. So the essence is I have disconnected CGD because it is a bridge capacitance between gate and drain. So I will remove this bridge capacitance. Instead of that, I will connect only CGD dash, which is equal to CGD into 1 plus GM RL dash. Remaining things and all I have shown as such. Done. Okay. Now you can see these two capacitors, they are what? They are parallel, isn't it? They are sharing the common terminals, that is gate and ground. So they are parallel. So what is the total capacitance? Total capacitance, I can consider it as C in because this is your input part, input circuit. So the total equivalent capacitance C in is CGS plus CGD into 1 plus GM into RL dash. This is the Miller equivalent capacitance. Please note down, this is the Miller equivalent capacitance. So Miller will consider only this Cn to compute our time constant as well as the cutoff frequency. So once we finish with this equivalent capacitance value, now we can find the equivalent resistance after looking through this terminals. So the only resistance that you can find is R6 if you short circuit this V6. Because whenever we are finding the equivalent resistance, you know, the signal source has to be short circuited, and looking through the open terminal, the resistance that is connected in parallel is R6. Therefore, R6 is nothing but your total resistance Rn. Multiplying this Rn with Cn, we will get the time constant tau h. And after finding tau h, we can write the equation Fh as 1 by 2 pi into tau h. That is 1 by 2 pi into R6 into Cn. So this is the final equation for the cutoff frequency Fh, where R6 is the input resistance and Cn is a total equivalent Miller capacitance, which is defined by CGS plus CGD multiplied by 1 plus GM into R. So you need to study this equation Cn so that you can find Fh by using Miller equivalent. So this is a very easier method to find the cutoff frequency of any amplifier if there is bridging capacitance present between the two terminals. Because bridging capacitance is the main problem, because we won't be able to see any physical resistance connecting across a capacitance. So it is very hard to find the equivalent resistance across those two terminals if you are going through some circuit analysis. So in order to avoid that problem, simply we have come up with an equation, and by using this equation we can find the cutoff frequency Fh. Any doubts, students? Tanmaya?
No, sir.
Naveen? So based upon this, we will try to do a problem. And this problem we have already done for the open circuit time constant. But now we will repeat the same thing for our Miller equivalent. So take down this problem. So a CMOS CS amplifier has W by L, that is aspect ratio, 7.2 micrometer by 0.36 micrometer. So this is the width and this is the length of the channel. This is Kn dash and this is Kp dash. It is a CMOS. CMOS means it is a combination of both NMOS and PMOS. If NMOS is acting as amplifier, PMOS will constitute the current source or current mirror. So they have given Kn dash and Kp dash. Kn dash is mu n into COX, which is 387 microampere per volt square. And for Kp dash, we have 86 microampere per volt square. The reference current is 100 microampere. That will be same as that of the drain current. VAN dash, this is the early voltage for N MOSFET. But the thing is, it is given for per unit length. So this is not the total voltage. It is a voltage available per unit length of the channel. What is VAN dash? VAN dash is the early voltage per unit length. Length is 0.36 micrometer. This is for 1 micrometer actually. For 1 micrometer, the voltage is 5 volt. So if you want to find the actual voltage, then you need to multiply with 0.36 micrometer so that you will get VA dash. Similarly, this is for P MOSFET. VAP dash, again, this is available for unit length per micrometer. It is not in volt, it is in per micrometer. So you need to multiply with the length in order to get the total exact voltage. And all the capacitances are considered here, CGS, CGD, and CL, and finally the RSIC. But please remember that whenever we are going for Miller capacitance, even though CL is mentioned, that will not be considered into our account. If you see our final equation, the Miller equivalent is defined by the input capacitance alone, which is equal to CGS plus CGD into 1 plus GM into RL dash. So this CL will be applicable only for the open circuit time constant method, whereas I will not take this value for Miller equivalent. So in this question, we are going to find the cutoff frequency FH using Miller equivalent as well as by using the open circuit time constant method, and we will compare whether we are getting the same answer or if there is any difference. So first, what we have to find is, this is our equation for CN. If you see this equation, which is the unknown, students? Which is the unknown? Everything is given or what? No, right? CGS is given, CGD is given, but GM and RL dash is not given. So please note down the equation and write the comment. GM and RL dash is not given. So we have to find the value of GM and RL dash. So the equation for GM is 2ID by VOV. The equation for GM is 2ID divided by VOV, where VOV is unknown. It is not given in the question. VOV is the overdrive voltage. So we have to find the overdrive voltage. Only then we can finalize the answer for GM. So what we have to write? We have to write the equation for the drain current. All of you write the equation for drain current. ID is half Kn dash W by L into VGS minus VT the whole square, where VGS minus VT is nothing but your VOV. ID is same as that of the reference current as per a current mirror circuit is concerned. So we can retain ID as I reference, which is 100 microamps. So 100 microampere is equal to half into, what is Kn dash W by L? It is mu n into COX 387 into W by L is 7.2 by 0.36. Everything it is in micro, so no need to convert it. Even current is also in micro. Kn dash is also in micro. Width by length is also in micro, so no need to convert. Let it be as such. Then we can solve for VOV and put your answers in the chat box. After solving, find VOV and put your answer. Yes, very good, Nivedita. It is 0.16 volt. So the answer for VOV is 0.16 volt. So within 1 minute, this meeting will get done. Please rejoin back to the same link. So once you find VOV, now you can compute GM, which is 2ID by VOV. So your answer will be very much large. It will be in microampere per volt. You can convert into milliampere by dividing it with 1000. Okay, this is in micro, right? So divide it with 1000 because the resistance value and all it is in kilo ohm only. So what we are going to do is we will convert our GM answer in milliampere per volt. So if you multiply